So welcome everyone to Zoom.
Hi.
Welcome Instagram. Welcome TikTok to.
Hello, regulars here on Kink. This is Kinky Konversations. This is a program we've had for a year that we've just morphed into this format of getting to review with you every week 7 of the questions that are very typical of the ones that we use in our group mentorship program. That's been super successful, so we thought we would spend the hour here going over those questions together, and then you can join us on social media every day at noon to dissect them one at a time.
And what's really cool about it is how much we learn from dissecting each question.
Oh my goodness.
Just how many layers each question has, and
This
it's
yeah,
been
this week
quite
has been
mind-blowing.
incredible. We started last week. We did 7 questions last week. Hey, Lace. And then we did 1 a day since Wednesday. So we've done 6 days in a row. And I am like mind blown at how much there's been to think about and talk about. And you're outside with us on our deck.
On this beautiful day.
On this beautiful day, surrounded by our tomato plants.
And other plants.
Mm-hmm.
And birds that I feed with our bird feeder.
Oh, the birds are crazy out there right now.
They love it, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're gone already.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the seeds are gone. They're just using us. So we have another minute left. Just giving a few minutes.
6 Ruhu, tell me that you're going to be on Zoom. I need to see you here. Yes, other plants, Mr. Hurricane. You are you are observant. So yeah, it's just 6 o'clock now. We usually give everybody a minute or two to jump on and join us.
Joshua, did you say the birds are using you?
They're using me for my nuts.
Oh my God. It doesn't stop, does it? Girlfriend, I'm telling you, you better be on this Zoom call.
I like nuts.
For my nuts.
Too funny. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who have been with us before. Hopefully the passing by trains won't be too distracting. Lace, can you hear the train? No? Awesome.
No, says the deaf woman. I'm like
Fair.
a superpower right now.
Very,
I
very
don't
fair. Wow. I got it. It's just that time of day where the trains just come in and out of here.
Yeah.
Is it loud?
They said no, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just too nice to not be out here.
Yeah, the weather's perfect. It's been too hot for the last few weeks to be trapped inside.
Yeah.
So we'll give it another minute, and
Yeah.
then we'll kick it off. Do you want to put the
Hi, Kyla.
questions in the
Oh yeah, let me put the questions in the chat.
chat? This is my bag of nuts, just for those that were curious. We
I
have.
have to shout out as a hello to Master Hurricane because we was like kind of vibing on the TikTok. Hello.
Awesome. So, as Kat puts them in, the questions are you putting enough, too much, too little effort into your relationships? Are you putting enough into your relationship with yourself? How would you know? What does it look like? The second question is, what are you afraid of? What does that look and feel like? The third question, which is always a heavy hitter, is why do I matter? Oh, you smell that?
I don't know what's going on.
Is that coming from the kitchen?
It smells like something's baking.
Yeah.
Maybe the neighbors are baking.
That smells yummy. And then, sorry.
I gotta see the keyboard.
Sorry, I'll put it right here. And then the fourth question is, what small act of kindness were you once shown that you will never forget? 5 is, what's the one thing you'd like others to remember about you at the end of your life? 6, name 2 moments you'll never forget. The 2 moments I'll never forget in life are, and we'll describe them in a little bit of detail. And then, what does unconditional love look like? Now, the idea with these questions and why they're relevant in the mentorship program around and for BDSM is what we ask a person to reflect on in these questions is self-value, moral compass, awareness of layers of and levels of vulnerability, just to name a couple. So we'll dive into each question, and we'll also talk about why is this question relevant to the lifestyle. All good, Starship. All good. Welcome, welcome. So,
Oh, hi, Starship.
as Kat continues dropping these questions in the chat, so the way it's going to work is we're going to take a few minutes. Last time we tried a pattern, a process that we use in the program to see how that would work. And there goes the birdies. Look at the birdies behind us. Oh no, they're going to be behind. But they're behind Cat's head. No, it's okay. For the nuts. We'll spend a few minutes with each one before we move on to the next. And what we would like to do is with you guys, if you have questions, ask the question, then we'll dissect it. Just making sure that we can move along and get to each question with enough time.
I'm almost done. You can start if you want.
All right. And the ever exciting New York sound effects.
Oh my goodness, someday I'm not gonna live where it's so noisy. Sorry, I've had a hard noise day today.
And you know what's wild is they're only going one block, like past. But the way it echoes sometimes. All right. You want to admit those people?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Oh, Sapio Soda's here. I haven't seen him
All
in a
right.
while.
So, are you putting enough, too much, too little effort into your relationships? Let's start with that.
Feel free at any point to raise your hand if you want to jump in on the conversation. For me, I put probably a little bit more in my relationships with other people than I do with myself. I wouldn't say that I put too much into my relationships with other people because I'm not sure that's a thing, really. Yes, thank you, Sixaru. I forgive you. But I could put a little bit more into my relationship with myself. And I don't know how I would know. It's like an intuitive feeling. It's because I've been working on my relationship with myself most of my life. And I feel like now I'm better than I've been before, but it could be a little bit better.
Now, you said you don't know how you would know.
Well, how do you know? Like, I think that I put an appropriate amount of effort into my relationships. I keep up with people. I try to stay current. I try to check in when I can tell something's happening with someone I care about. I try to be not so self-absorbed that I can't tell when something's going on with someone I care about, and I try to make, time for people. I don't know. How about you?
So, sometimes I feel like I don't put enough into other relationships because I have my goals in front of me, my purpose in front of me, and it's the way I feel about it is that it took me into my late 30s to find a purpose to live, to like a reason for existence. And it was like at that point, all the time I felt like I wasted or I lost or insert whatever. It was like now I have an opportunity to do something with it, and I can do it, and it's like I want that to be my focus because it's fulfilling. So that's one of the ways that sometimes I don't feel like I do enough in relationships. And then you have the polyamory aspect of it, where when someone gets time, someone's losing time, right? So it's like there's that part too, and there's only 24 hours in a day, right? So it's like it's not so easy. And then how do I know? Because I feel it in my body.
What does that mean?
I feel like there's an absence of something. I feel like there's space. And you know, it's sad also because we only have 24 hours in a day, and the way I care about people isn't the norm, right? It's like people need consistent connection to feel connected to someone, and I don't, right? I feel like I take my lessons and experiences with the person wherever I go, and I feel like the person's always with me. Even when they're spaced apart, it's like those connections that last 30 years, right? I don't need to plug up with them in order for me to feel like they have gratitude for my connection with them. But it's like they don't need consistent pouring into the cup to feel valued. And I wish every relationship could be like that, to where a person could understand because I'm with you is what makes you valuable to me, right? If it's not now, when it was, it still is. And that's what's tough about it, because what it looks like to me is it shouldn't matter, and it does. So I feel guilt and shame around that when I'm feeling that way because of how I am in relationships naturally. So I feel wrong for being, right? So it's like, do I put enough? I don't think I do, because where life has positioned me, it's like I share it with everyone, but I can't make other people my focal point after 39 years of not having it.
No, I know. Two things. Can someone repost the questions in the chat, because I can't do it? Thank you, Lace. And Kyla, I see you, and I'm also going to encourage any of my other poly people here to speak to this question about relationships and putting enough in, because it's a particular concern for poly people, I think, a little bit differently than for people who are in more monogamous relationships. So, Kyla?
First, to clarify, when I hear the word relationships, I think of all of them, including friendships and etc. in business. So are we talking those terms or just romantic relationships here?
Wherever you go with the question, totally fine. The statement was, let's go inside. Give us 2 minutes so we can go inside, so that we can get the audio more clearly because of the background noise. I don't want to miss what you guys say. So give us 60 seconds. It's also you guys too, social media, because the conversations that are had on the TikTok with the participants is really impactful. So I want to make sure everyone can hear what's being said. We just need to adjust.
Hold on a second.
One second.
Yeah, no.
You're good now. The thing is heavy.
I don't know where we're orienting, but at any rate, the sirens are horrible outside, and Kylie, you started to talk, and neither of us could hear what you were saying, and that defeats the whole purpose of having a conversation. I am. Okay. Here we go. We're gonna go this way?
Right.
This way.
Good, Mom. I'm gonna just fix this one.
Okay.
How's everyone else's week going? Anything fun happening?
Okay. So, I'm sorry. So now I can hear you, Kyla. Will you say again what it was you were saying? Kyla? I was muted. Sorry, Kyla? What you were saying?
Yes. The last checkpoint. Come on, go back into the video game.
Well, you had asked about which kind of relationships.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. All right. So, part of the reason I asked is, for me, a lot of times, because of the way I live, which is I move around full time, I live nomadically. means that it can be really hard to cultivate deep and long-lasting relationships. And so I've kind of had to look very almost scientifically at it, or not transactionally necessarily, but like, how does this functionally work, and how do I make sure I make this work? Because otherwise I will be literally alone. And no man is an island. It's true. So when I think across all the types of relationships, I guess my answer for myself is, another part of the way I live is so particular to the things that I'm doing and where I'm going and the people I must pay attention to, because there's clients or there's projects or events or what have you, and I must have a strong focus there in order to be effective and continue to be booked. And so where does the rest of my focus go and my ambient attention? And so when I heard, Joshua, what you said about what I've come to call object impermanence for relationships, it's like, when babies are little, there's a thing in front of them, or a dog even, and you take the toy away, and they're like, wait a second, but then it's gone like magic. But we know it's still there behind you. Object impermanence, at some point in a child's life, they get this thing, and it has been presented to me that neurospicy folks have a high overlap rate with what you described exactly, which is press pause, press play, it's the same, we're still in it. But not everybody works that way, as you said. And wouldn't it be great if they could? And wouldn't it be great if we could all realize that it's all happening even when we're not in proximity? Because I have to put so much attention on my relationship with myself to make sure that I'm resourced, like physically, emotionally, that I have coverage for 365 nights of the year. It's a lot. It's choices that I do not regret. But it means that a lot of this other attention for other people isn't as much as I would like it. And so is it enough? It has to be. And so how do I do a little better each time? And sometimes the question is even, how do I fail a little bit to be? And so how do I do a little better each time? And sometimes the question is even, how do I fail a little bit better next time?
We would go to, what are you afraid of?
What are you afraid of, and what does that look and feel like?
I struggle with fear a lot. I have been afraid of, I'm afraid of rejection, I'm afraid of failing, I'm afraid of succeeding, I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid of dying alone. Sometimes I'm just afraid, and I have to. That's where my relationship with the universe really comes into play for me, because sometimes that is the only thing that can relieve me of fear, is to pray. That's what my relationship with fear is like.
Kieran?
I am afraid of not being protected and abandonment. Thank you all very much for your mentor program, unearthing all this.
Thank you. Mine is around rejection. I'm afraid of rejection, and the feeling that it has in my body is like a dirty feeling. Like I've overstepped or I've overasked because I'm not worth the ask. And then I fear a violent and painful death. Like that's one. Being unable to do something about it.
Like the
being
dying
powerless,
part?
powerlessness, 100%.
Yeah.
To do something about it.
Like the
being
dying
powerless,
part?
powerlessness, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, losing the person I care about, or family or friends. Yeah, that's a big deal. Grace?
Mine is kind of ambiguous, because while I hermit myself away, and while I often don't speak very much, sorry. I also I think one of the things that bothers me the most is the possibility of being forgotten or overlooked as a part of the relationship, which is ironic because there's pretty much any topic I will have something to talk about. I'm of the relationship, which is ironic because there's pretty much any topic I will have something to talk about.
As I'm listening to all these other things that people are saying, I'm like, oh yeah, that does scare me, that too. But when I use my great ability to rationalize, I'm like, actually, I've done this. I'm like, I am so resilient and capable. If any of these things happened, it would be horrible and I would be fine. And here's my evidence. And so at the end of the day, the thing that scares me most is myself. I would be fine. And here's my evidence. And so at the end of the day, the thing that scares me most is myself. What if? Like, here's my evidence. And so at the end of the day, the thing that scares me most is myself. What if? Like.
Thank you, Big Daddy.
I think he looks frozen.
Did he freeze? I think he froze. Did he freeze? I think he froze.
Me? No, I was done.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Big
I
Daddy.
froze.
Me? No, I was done.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Big
I
Daddy.
See that how everybody, a lot of people have that fear of dying, and I don't. I'll go down that road, literally. I'll go down that hole, literally. I'll do those things. But the what ifs, as Heather saying, I think that is what scares me the most. Ifs, as Heather saying, I think that is what scares me the most.
Not being valued, which to me is rejection, abandonment, adjacent. Abandonment, isolation. Not being valued, which to me is rejection, abandonment, adjacent. Abandonment, isolation, whether it's losing the person I care about, whether it's family, friends, or a partner. This also plays. Abandonment, isolation, whether it's losing the person I care about, whether it's family, friends, or a partner. This also plays into the security and safety and not having. Losing the person I care about, whether it's family, friends, or a partner. This also plays into the security and safety and not having it. It's very, very hard to open up. It's very hard to open up. Rejection. Not showing up as my authentic self. It throws me into an overthinking spiral that sets off the am I good enough, whatever enough just the way I am. I have a lot of fear about being misunderstood. Fear of not being enough, not being heard, not being used, yes. I could be a contortionist, but it'll never be enough for you, will it?
There's a lot of fear.
There's also a lot of matter of I'm afraid of getting to a place and then not being able to go in due to accessibility. I don't want to be that wheelchair user who showed up to the dungeon and couldn't get in, or showed up to the party and couldn't get in and was awkward and everyone felt bad. Death of myself doesn't scare me. What scares me is the lasting effect on those around me and who's affected due to it. Wow.
Yeah, I think about that.
Yeah. Thank you everyone
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing this evening.
The nice thing about all of this is we're not. I hope from this that no one feels alone. At least no one feels alone in being afraid, because apparently we all have it.
Yeah.
To one varying degree or another, which I take comfort in. All right. So in the interest of getting through these questions,
let's get to the better question.
This one. Why do you matter?
Why do I matter?
Why do I matter? It's such a rhetorical thing. I matter because I am, and that's not really an answer.
Someone also said fear of a plotted death.
Like someone plotting your death?
I can get that. You know why I can get that? Because of paranoia and, let's say, stalker or harassment. the shadow, you're always looking in the shadows. You're always waiting for the next thing to happen. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Big Tatty and then Grace.
Why do I matter? Because I've been told all my life that I'm valuable by people that see it.
Awesome.
I don't know. I failed enough. But yeah, I that's the first thing that came to my mind when I read that question. Why do I matter more than not even more, but why do I matter like the president? Why do I matter like you? All of you. Why do we all matter like the others around us? I think that's the best way.
Thank you. Grace?
Funny because my therapist and I just talked about this on Friday of where I got the idea that a person is a person and that's the value. We're talking about is my culture growing up shifted so much, and because of that I have a different culture than my family and a lot of people in the US as well. But for me it just is there, you know, like a person has bones, they matter. That's it. There's nothing attached to it. But trying to find other people that know more than in the head, that have been able to kind of get out of the brainwashing of if you don't be breadwinner, then you can't have home. If you don't homemate, then you can't have home. If you can't have children and you can't work, then you can't have home. Kind of getting out of that, in my head, that's the second tier of, okay, this is what you matter, where do you want to matter at? Instead of being the base on which the matter exists. So, and I really don't know where that came from. It may have been a mix, it may have been a little bit. I actually asked my friends that after my therapy on Friday. I was like, do you guys think this? Do you not think this? Where the hell did this come from? Because my therapist said that's an interesting take. And he's been around, so if he says that, I don't want to think about it more. So, yeah, I mean, you matter for the same reason that I matter, and it's that we're here. That goes for people that have gone and for people that are coming. It goes for my dog, my cat, and the bird outside. It matters because it's here, or it has been here, or it will be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
What's interesting to me about just the overall sense of the comments is that we matter for how we are reflected in the eyes of the people around us. We're reflected back. When it's reflected back to us that we are loving, that we care, that we're of value to others, that's how we know we matter.
Kyla?
So, Kat, that was such a lovely segue to what I wanted to say kind of anyway, which was to say maybe we're actually answering two questions here. And the basic one, why do I matter, is because I exist. And even science, matter cannot be created or destroyed. Nothing can change the fact that you matter. It is. How do I know I matter? How can I see I matter? How can I feel I matter? That's for me the question, or like the type of question that we've been answering a lot more about these reflections and these affirmations, and as lovely as they are, and I don't wish to downplay them, I'm like, wow, wouldn't it be so great if we all from birth already had that for ourselves? And like, what does that take?
Thank you. That's a really, I wrote that down. That's a great distinction. How do I know that I matter? They are two questions when they don't pulled apart like that, so thank you.
I matter because I'm love, I'm a giver. I'm enough for myself and valued towards myself. I hear myself and see myself, and having and being myself with myself is more than enough for me. I've also been told by others that I have a big heart and I care, supportive and wise with my words. So those, let's see, then here we have, because my life empowers others, the ups, the downs, the middles. Sometimes I know about it, sometimes I don't. It doesn't matter. Yes, Sapio, that's actually the route I was leaning into and reflecting on this question this time. Let's see, what's crazy is we can quickly list off of fears, but not necessarily something positive about ourselves. I've literally been told to do the world a favor and off myself twice. One was my brother and the other was my ex. I matter because we are linked together. We never fully understand how much of an impact we have on each other. We are the echo of those who've come before and the shout that comes into the future. Regardless of how we feel, we alter on a small scale and a large scale in ways we don't always understand. Yes, Lizzie. Awesome.
You know, it's interesting. When I was in the sixth grade, where I grew up, you did a big report that you prepared for the class on some kind of drug. Yeah, it was in that day and age, right? And usually it was supposed to be like illicit drugs and that kind of thing. But because my mom was sick, I chose to do chemotherapy as a drug, as my presentation. And when it came close to my presentation, I got really nervous. And my dad, who, for whatever, every once in a while, my dad came up with a gem. And he said to me, if you help one person in that room, you've done a good thing. You have value. You matter if you just can help one person. So I was thinking about that when someone said, like, we don't know who we affect. We don't know how we help others or what impact we have on other people's lives. It's a Wonderful Life, that whole story, like the going back, the Christmas past sort of idea of what would it be like if someone took you by the hand and took you back over your life and you saw all the ways you didn't know how you impacted people. I think we all have that story. I don't think we all understand to the degree that we positively impact people around us.
Yeah.
And we matter for no other reason than that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're there for each other. Let's see, why do I matter? What small act of kindness were you once shown that you will never forget?
Kieran.
Oh.
This is for you, Joshua, because I've never told you this. There was one time you had a party down in Flatbush, and I had some wine, and it hit me, and you would not let me take the subway home, and you paid for the Uber to go from Flatbush all the way to Inwood, and I think I owe you some money.
Well, I'm coming collecting. No, I thank you for mentioning that. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I have not had a glass of wine since then.
Thank you.
I was like, oh, that did not go well.
Grace?
Something that is very prevalent in the communities that I was raised in is the idea of it doesn't matter if it's your house or not. If it's time to eat, it's time to eat. And when I was very young, I can only barely remember it, there was a older lady who's also Mexican that lived down the street, and it was in a pretty white area, so I was seeing a lot, stuck out a bit. But she had this gorgeous garden. She was retired. She was always outside working on it. And they had a little casita that they had drinks and snacks in. And they didn't have any kids close by, didn't have any grandkids close by. But that door was always unlocked. And we knew it was always unlocked. And it was her thing. It was like Capri Suns and, like the brand name cool shit that was expensive, so you never got to get. And we would always just be able to go in there and get a little snack. And I still remember her. Her name's Miss Morgan. She's a wonderful person. Husband was really nice too. But it was like, you don't even have to come and ask. There's the food. There's the drink. This is a beautiful area. Come sit in the garden if you want to. But if you don't, just come grab the snack and drink and jump on your bike and go. And it just like the simplicity of there is no transaction. It's just the offering. It's just kindness. They don't have any kids around there, but she knows what it's like to be a kid and need a drink and be on the other side of the neighborhood from home, And so things like that, I've carried that forward. I have a snacks bar at my house. Every single time I get together, I have all the drinks that I can afford and food that I can afford to keep shelf stable until somebody needs it. And I don't care. Come in, get it, leave, say hi, don't, whatever. So something as simple as that without a transaction is just really beautiful for me.
That's really cool. How about you, Mama?
I don't know. I have a hard time with this one, a small act of kindness.
Y'all are on mute still.
Thanks, Grace.
Thank you.
Yeah, a small act of kindness. It's hard for me to come up with one thing to think of. Anytime that someone is kind to me, just kindness itself is a kindness. Somebody who has, just a nice word to say. Like, I have a hard time coming up with a particular.
I have one, and
Yeah.
it was really fucking cool. It was the night Evie and I went out last year, the year before, the prom, because I never went to prom. So she took me out to prom, and she was in her dress. And after the thing we went to the Eagle, and we were trying to get in, and we didn't have enough cash. And so we were trying to figure out what to do, and this guy came up, and he gave us the cash, and he says, "Have a good time."
Oh, that's awesome. That's really nice.
And it was really fucking kind. Like,
yeah. I just feel like there have been so many moments like that in my life. People have stepped, it's like I don't know why I can't think of one, because I think every time it happens, I'm blown away. That was really nice. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a really sweet thing.
There was times when I was hungry and food was given to me. I think that has a lot to do with what goes around comes around, because I've always been a person to give away whatever I have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when times were not so easy and I would go hungry, it was like it was always delivered. It was and that was always very, like, I had a lot of gratitude for that because it just came.
Yeah. And I think I always put myself up to being kind, and then for some reason I don't ever expect it in return. And so when it comes, it feels really special.
Big Daddy?
It really is so hard to think about what thing would I not remember. There are so many different things that happened. From being hungry and food popping up to one of the most biggest things is I was in a state of depression at one point, and just in my living room floor and praying that God, I don't know what to do next, what's going on. And like the next day I got a phone call, and then a week later I was paid to get a bus to move away from what I was, suffering from, and to get a job and do something I've always wanted to do. And I did it for 4 or 5 years. It was great. It was fun. It was bucket list filling. It was fulfilling all the way around. And in that, I was alone traveling over the country. And with that, I made sure I could stop every time I saw somebody on the side of the road. If I wasn't with a load and I was cruising on my own, I made sure I'd stop and just said, "You good? You got a flat tire? You got your spare? You got your jack? You good? All right, I'm out of here. Have a good day." And be out. Or I would stop and help them. But I made a point of always stopping and knowing that passing that forward was what would help me stay going forward. When I had nobody, and I had nobody out there. All I had was a phone.
Thank you, Big
Thank
Daddy.
God it said that piece. I mean, I can imagine what that was back in the 70s. Being out on the road and having nothing but mail and a payphone. But yeah, passing it forward makes it so much. Just knowing that when it comes, it just makes you fulfilling.
Yeah, that absolutely. Someone says that kind of kindness is essential. Also, my freshman year of high school, my friend's mom brought me new shoes and clothes to start the new year, the school year. She also, on any day, would feed and send me home with ramen. I could do some ramen. I would totally love some ramen right now. Then we have one small act of kindness I'll never forget is when I was traveling alone with 2 toddlers, and one of them wouldn't stop crying. And instead of getting upset, all of the people around me helped calm her down for the rest of the flight. It was so nice. That's beautiful.
I can picture that. That's really, really sweet.
As a waterfall ourselves, it can be hard to feel the rain of kindness from others.
That was beautiful, Grace.
The story reminds me of the old movie, The Convoy. Great movie. All cops are bastards.
I would never know what that meant.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. What's the one thing you'd like others to remember about you at the end of your life? Grace?
Kindness and being seen, feeling seen and safe.
I really like that. Kindness, being seen and feeling seen as safe. Awesome. I really like that, Grace.
I think I just want to. I think I just want to know that I did my best. Right? That I showed up and I I want to be remembered for having really done good, bad, or indifferent. I did my best. Kindness was the first thing that came to me, but Grace already said it.
Yeah, no, listen, and that's why I try to go as fast as I can because someone's just going to steal the words. I want people to remember me as someone who was a giver or a provider and not a taker.
That's funny. That goes back to the buffet and the potluck thing.
Yeah.
Bye, Breezy. Thank you for coming.
Kieran and then Kyla.
My integrity. I want to be remembered for my integrity.
Cool.
Thank you.
Kyla?
Yep.
Kyla.
Yes. I recently asked a few people about this kind of thing for a very strange purpose. And the things that they had to say were so unexpected and genuine that I'm like, I could never possibly try to pick. And so I'll very big up myself and say, a legend doesn't write their own lore.
A legend doesn't write their own what?
Lore.
Oh, lore. Okay.
Lore, yes.
Yeah, I'm having the slightest bit of trouble hearing you. That's a very, that sounds like a phrase from a movie.
So the biggest act of kindness I remember was when a stranger helped calm me as I rode the bus he was preemie and I was terrified, and she was a blessing that day. That I create growth, kindness, loved, safe, a giver, and someone that sees the positive in life. I want to be remembered as someone who's helped make your day better, as someone who was there. I want to be remembered as a good person, an open heart, made people feel loved, and an excellent tipper. Never swayed from my integrity. I was compassionate and finally hilarious. Mm-hmm. Yes, 6.
Yes.
Big Daddy.
I really took a moment to think about this. I want to be remembered that I share love with everybody.
Share love with everyone.
Care about everybody. I don't care if I'm looked at as a success. I don't care if people look at me and say that I have failed so many things. I just want people to remember me as somebody that was willing and courage was a thought that came to my head. I had the courage to help.
Awesome. Thank you, Big Daddy.
You know, you guys being in New York City, 9/11, really, I felt bad that I didn't make it out there. I made it to Louisiana after the second hurricane to go help clean up with that. And that brought me so much back to that 9/11. And it was so fulfilling to go and see the destruction and just go help clean one church. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Just to be remembered that I had the courage to go and help. The courage to stop and help a stranger.
Thank you, Big Daddy.
Because that is scary.
Very scary. Very scary.
It really is. If you don't know where you are, and even if you got some hood rat with a broken down car, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You really need to stop and help them if
Very
that's what
scary.
you're doing.
Yes.
It really can't be fearful.
Thank you. That reminds me, I actually have an outstanding karmic debt. When I was very, very young, I think I forget the circumstances, but I ended up stranded on the side of a highway in South Florida between 2 exits on I-95, and I was very young. And speaking of scary to stop and help strangers, this woman pulled over and picked me up, and it was scary for her because she didn't know who I was. But she picked me up and she brought me to the gas station, and she charged me with paying that forward someday. And I have not yet had that opportunity. I've not yet been in a situation where someone was stranded on the side of the road that needed me to stop. I mean, I don't even drive a car now because I live in New York City. But when I hear that story, it reminds me. But I was so grateful that day because I didn't know what I was going to do. I was between 2 exits. I couldn't get off the highway. I was alone. And this woman pulled over and helped me. Anyway,
I'll make sure you catch that out one day. I'll be like, Mama. So, Sapio says that I survived many terrible things and was willing to share my stories and help others go through similar things.
well, that's the whole purpose of suffering. We talk about that, right? The purpose of suffering is so that you can help someone who goes through a similar thing.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, and that's, we say that, you know, in recovery, we say that, right? Like, no matter how bad your story is, no matter what terrible things you did behind drugs and alcohol and stuff, when you come the other side of it, somebody will come behind you that has the same degree of shame around what they did, and you'll be able to say, yeah, me too, and lighten the load for someone.
So, questions 12 and 13 are similar, right? What's the one thing you'd like others to... Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. Number 11 and 13 are similar. Small act of kindness that you'll never forget. 2 moments that you'll never forget. So, what if we just make it 1 moment that you'll never forget in life, and what makes it so unforgettable?
That's so hard, 1 moment.
Pick from many.
Yeah, right? It was funny because I saw that question coming, and I had remembered one I hadn't remembered before, and of course now it went out of my head. Because for those of you who don't know me, I can't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. I always think of my high school music teacher. I was in such a desperate time in my life, and she saved me. You know, I was talking to somebody about that, about school programs where people have taken like drama and music and sports out of schools, and I don't know how kids survive.
Mine was when I realized that there's nobody driving the ship. When that everyone is fucking lost on this planet. When I had that moment,
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. No one's coming to save us. It was quite incredible because I was working for the government in law enforcement, and it's like you're surrounded by all these officers with authority and responsibility and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you're all fucking clueless morons. It's like, who's the adult here? And then it dawned on me, there are no, like, adults here.
That are in charge of any of the other adults, you mean?
Yeah, man, it was a very scary feeling, and it lasted, I don't know how long it lasted, but I processed it and what have you, but it's an awakening of no one knows better than anyone else. Everyone's winging it and trying to get as much information as they can without showing that they don't know what's going on. And that's the charade, is that no one fucking knows. So why do you act like you do know better than the other person? Is that no one fucking knows. So why do you act like you do know better than the other person? Right? Because no one has...
Right.
No one...
Well, I mean, that was my problem. I thought everyone knew but me. Right? And but I have to say this, Fatally Yours, I love that. The moment you saw your oldest daughter for the first time, that's beautiful. That's like the whole other end of the spectrum of like of cherished moments that like you'll never forget, right? Oh, and that's beautiful. There's the PS to that story. We were told you'd never be able to have a healthy child, and she was just perfect and healthy. That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Grace?
I think the moment that I'll never forget, it goes kind of along what y'all were talking about, but it was the final teacher that I had at my school when I was in San Francisco, and we had a whole semester of these visiting speakers coming through, and usually you could spot them a mile away. You know, they kind of have that swagger, and I was in the dormitory kitchen doing some dishes because somebody had left them, so I started doing that, and this tiny, frail little old man walks in in this long tunic cloth thing and white hair, and he's just kind of shuffling along and doesn't seem to be doing anything big, and asks me who I am and my name and all this, and we have a conversation. And then the next day I find, or I think later that night, he was like, oh yeah, I'm the teacher for this week. And he just sat there and he talked to us like there was no adult in the room, because there wasn't. And he didn't have answers for all our questions. And he would just look, he wouldn't, make some joke or whatever to kind of brush aside anything he didn't know. He'd just look at you and say, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? And that just kind of acceptance and like the quiet calmness, but at the same time, the quiet acceptance and moving forward, I was like, oh my God, my people exist. I can be now. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to keep trying to strive to be this huge towering monument that people know. I can just, I don't have to know. I don't even have to fucking know.
I have one. Right as I was moving to New York from California, I had struggled in California trying to find my way into the community. I got my start there, but I never really felt like I belonged, as hard as I tried. And then I remember being here and I was at an event. It was a swing event, but I remember someone treated me like I was the most cherished person after being in a relationship for years where I wasn't even wanted. And someone treated me like I was the most desirable, most valuable person that they'd ever met. And then I looked around the room, and these were all people who were playing together, and there was no judgment, and there was no jealousy. These were all people. And I had that feeling of like, my people do exist. I found my people. I found my tribe. It was the second coming of that. My recovery circle was my first circle, and then this experience was the second feeling of like, I'm not crazy to have imagined that this existed somewhere. And then to have that moment of sitting in a room and feeling like, wow, I finally found them was a really sort of profound moment of belonging.
The day I talked a friend out of unaliving themselves without even realizing it until he told me at the end, is one of the others shared.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
One moment I'll never forget, I was having a hard day going shopping, not in the mood for people. There was a girl, stranger, that also had a hard day, and I just smiled at them and told them, you're enough. Months later, the same girl stopped me in the same mall and told me if it wasn't for that, for me, that just did what she was planning on unaliving herself. She hugged me and thanked me. For me, that stuck with me. When it comes to kindness, is free in the small moment that can change your outlook on life.
That's an example of getting to have it reflected back to you when you do help, but I am certain, I just know it in my heart that we all help each other whether we know it or not. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is.
And that's the matter part, right? Why
Yes,
do I matter?
That's why we matter.
I may never know why I matter.
Right.
But it's affected somebody.
Yeah. And that's why when I say I don't know why, but I matter, it's like I matter because I am. And that's like a complete sentence, right? We have one more question, right, for today?
Yeah.
This one, right?
What does unconditional love look like? So I don't believe in unconditional love. I don't believe in it.
What does that mean?
Meaning that I will love you under every single condition, period. Like, but then also defining love, right, is acceptance. I define love as acceptance. I accept you as you are. Now, can you love someone unconditionally and not give them access to you?
I think so. I don't know. It's a tough question, right? So, because that's when you get into the what ifs, right? Can you love me if I kill somebody? Can you love me if I do something terrible? Can you,
No, but beyond that, like, how a person affects you. Forget about like all the atrocities, because people, that's a whole different science behind it. About why people do things and where they're at. But in regards to me and loving someone unconditionally, like,
what I understand that to mean is, will you only love me if? I only love you if you are a certain way. I'll only love you if you either do things a certain way or act a certain, but because if you do X, Y, and Z, then I won't love you. That's to me the more fundamental type of unconditional love, right? Like, I love you no matter what. In all the ways that I know you. Like, you show up sometimes and, you don't have good days every day. But I don't not love you, right? I might not like it. There might be things we need to work on and stuff. But I love you, right? No matter what.
Yeah.
And and there was another one of the things that I learned from my dad, crazy as he was, right? Like, he loved me no matter what. And I came home to my family and announced my involvement with the lifestyle, and not everybody in my family loved me. Not everybody in my family wanted to continue to love me because they didn't like the choices I had made. And I hadn't even made bad choices. Not to my mind. I hadn't hurt anybody. I hadn't done anything wrong.
I guess
love was conditional.
If it was on a spectrum, right? Because like my goal is to accept people as they are, to give them access to me and me water those plants or provide safety and safe space for it. That's a totally different story. But I feel like my purpose, my goal, my role is to love under the definition of accepting you as you are. But then there's the intimate love, there's the deeper love, there's the more refined version of acceptance and vulnerability and intertwinedness, and more refined version of acceptance and vulnerability and intertwinedness. And
because this is the Tuesday topic. Because this is the Tuesday topic. We may have to make Tuesday a 2-hour conversation because this topic's got a ways to go.
Let's go.
We got a minute or two left.
Kieran, Big Daddy, and then Grace.
My grandma was unconditional love. She let me be, and it's kind of like y'all do too. Like they know I don't make bad decisions normally. I think through them. I have made bad decisions, but they're not fatal. And they just kind of I think through them. I have made bad decisions, but they're not fatal. And they just kind of let me be. And they knew that I was, believe it or not, Kat, I was a quiet kid.
Wow.
Thank you, Karen. Big Daddy.
Yep.
So unconditional love does exist. I'm just gonna say, just like that, I have found it twice, and it's been with two men. One has been a man I call my dad. As I said, my biological past when I was 2 months old. I had a man who I've called dad since I was 2 years old, and he hasn't even kicked me out of the house. I have never doubted that man's love. The other one is a battle buddy. Joined the military with me. Has been a friend of mine since we were kids. We play video games to this day. And when you asked what this conditional love was, I thought of him. And it's him not being afraid to tell me that I'm being stupid in a funny way.
Awesome. Thank you, Grace.
I think one of the things that holds me back whenever I go to think about, well, do I love somebody? Do I like somebody? Is I project a lot of what I think they already think of me. So I had a long conversation with somebody that I really respect in the community earlier this week on Monday. And he said, Grace, have they told you that they don't like you? I'm like, well, no. Like, okay. Has he told you he doesn't like you? No. Has he told you I have a problem with you? Well, no. Then shut up. Then go get a coffee, go get a dinner, talk it out, say, hey, I don't know if there's bad water, but then shut up. Then go get a coffee, go get a dinner, talk it out, say, hey, I don't know if there's bad water, but
Conditional love is based more on life events over bad behavior. I don't believe in unconditional love, but I do believe in loving intentionally. Awesome. Also, teachers are so underrated. Yes, teachers need more pay, more benefits, more recognition, more vacation days,
less kids in their classrooms,
and free mental health care. Free health care, period, but mental health care specifically, where they get time allotted for that because of the amount of space that they hold. Thank you for that, because I truly believe in that.
Thank you, Kyla. That was a nice way to end. Thank you.
Christ
consciousness, universal, intrinsic love. You are, you matter. I love you. And I'll say that to all of you. Thank you so much for coming again. For those of you who've been with me on this call for the last part of the year, thank you so much for being here. You all matter to me. I'm really excited about this turn in the road, this evolvement of our call, and we'll see some of you tomorrow at noon, and hopefully we'll see the rest of you